How's it going, United fans? Welcome back to another stream. Reaction to Villa United. Sorry, it's a bit belated. Didn't do one straight after the game yesterday. Just really didn't feel up to it, to be quite honest. After the result, so yeah, apologies. It's a little bit belated following the game, but yeah, just a bit pissed off, as I'm sure everyone else is a little bit peed off and all. So yeah, we'll just straight into it. We'll just get talking about where it went right initially. Tweeting about it sort of during the course of the game went very right. It was some of the best football I think we've played, definitely under Rangnick since he's been there, and I think probably this season as well. Some of the stuff we were playing in the first 30 minutes, and then it just obviously tailed off in the second half. I think, in the first half initially, when the last 10 minutes where we clearly were flagging a little bit tired, a bit unsure about how to control a 1-0 lead going into the half-time break. And then in the second half, just all went downhill, continued on from where it left off in the first, and we didn't seem to have any level of control, which is something that Rangnick's been speaking about quite regularly since he's coming at United, and that's a concern. You know, you can't teach control or coach control, really. It's just the type of players that you have are sort of talented with that level of tempo and control, and we don't have it in the team. Obviously, a lot of United fans and forums and news reports have been talking about United's lack of creativity and industry in midfield, and that's the problem that we're facing at this moment in time. It's just woeful. So we'll get into sort of the ratings. I've just sort of rated the players, really, which won't come as a surprise to anybody. If you do sort of jump in on the stream, don't be afraid to just drop a chat in there about what player ratings you thought the players got. If you think I'm wrong or whatever, or you think I'm right, or if you just want to comment, just do that. Yeah, and we'll obviously have a discussion. But yeah, there was some obviously initially amazing positives to share about in terms of getting the goal early on, the build-up play. I felt like down the left, Tellez was absolutely running the show. It was coming off every time. In the second, in the cup game, we were getting a similar sort of pattern where McTominay was finding a lot of joy on the left, balls out to the left to Shaw. We probably weren't capitalising on that as much as we should have been doing in that cup game on Monday, but felt that we did that quite well yesterday. Tellez was getting a lot of joy on that side. So that was a real big positive. We were in control. We were hungry. We were energetic. We wanted the ball. We weren't second best to everything. We were obviously winning the ball 50-50s and controlling it and winning it in groups. And when we got the ball down to the ground, we were sort of playing it out and not panicking on the ball and working it well and working it quick, not playing an extra pass in between, giving the pass direct, which was good. We were moving it forward quickly. So that was encouraging in the first 30 minutes. But then what happened was we scored the goal, great. We're still getting some level of joy. Villa, let's be honest, still had a couple of chances in that first half, which weren't major chances, but I think we dealt with them pretty well. I think the overall, but we coped defensively as well, which was good. They didn't sort of penetrate our midfield. The trouble is when they do penetrate our midfield, that's when the warning signs start flashing and everybody starts panicking. And luckily enough, in the first half, there's only a couple of times where I think they penetrated through the midfield and the back four had to deal with it. And I think they dealt with it pretty well in the first half. So yeah, that was the kind of first half, really. I didn't really want to sort of pick anybody out as poorly. I think Cavani was quiet again in that first half. Alanga had a fantastic first half. He's done more in that first 45 minutes than most in that position have done all season. And I won't mention any names, but I think we know who those people have been this season who haven't performed in that position. And Alanga's done a world of good for himself in giving himself a shout for another chance at playing, which will be the West Ham game next week, which is a big game. So we'll see. I mean, obviously there's some personnel to come back. Rashford obviously was missing through injury. Ronaldo was missing as well through injury. So we'll see on that one. But some positives, some real good positives from the first half. You know, we were positive, and looking back now on the result in hindsight from that first half, was that more Aston Villa trying to suss out what they were doing tactically? Was it Aston Villa trying to suss out what we were doing from the get-go? And once they sussed it out, was that the changing point? Was that the point in which they went, hold on a minute, this is what they're doing. We figured that out, and now we're going to start playing. Because it did feel that way, that suddenly United had no answer, and Villa had worked us out, and we were panicking and struggling. So, major worries in that department there. And generally, 30 minutes. It was the same against Palace. Everyone went on about Palace, saying how good we were at pressing, how good we were at retaining the ball, how potent we were. I went to that game. We weren't great, really. It was just Palace's lack of invention that made us look better. And it was similar to yesterday with Villa. Villa's lack of invention gave us room to do what we needed to do. Don't get me wrong, we were good in patches, but once again, we weren't clinical. You know, that game could have been killed off in the first 30. Instead, it went on and on and on. We were snatching at chances. We were hitting things from the edge of the box that were never destined to go anywhere near. So it was it was great first half. Could have been better, and then it tailed off. And when it tailed off, I noticed it at about 35 minutes gone. We looked tired. We looked like we were chasing the game. We'd exerted all our energy in that first 30 and then petered out. And that was a real concern then. That's when there should have been some level of calmness on the ball, some level of like players like Matic getting control of the game, players like Varane instructing the players around him that are probably less experienced than he is about controlling the game and keeping hold of it. We haven't got those types of players. The players we've got are players who want to go forward quickly. Tellez, Dalot, Fred, Bruno, Alanga, Greenwood, Cavani, Rashford, Ronaldo. The list, Lingard, Martial, the list keeps going on. We don't have players who want to or put the foot on the ball, who will 1-0 up, 35 minutes gone, first half away at Villa, are going to kill the game and slow it down and slow that tempo down. It frustrates the opposition team, it gets your breath back, and then you can go again, and then you can go blistering forward again. We don't have that. It's all or nothing, and that's where we're suffering in these games, killing these games off, getting control of the game, grasping it and taking it to the opposition and really controlling what we're doing. We're not doing it enough. Far from it. What we did is open the game up to Villa to go, if at any point, Villa, you want to get back into this game, there you go, because we cannot control what we're doing. The players just with a forward-minded thinking sort of style, there's no view of like closing the game off and just killing it. Awful in that respect, and that's where we're suffering. That's when people say we need a midfielder. That's what it is. People get saying, well, we need a defensive midfielder. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily defending in midfield, cutting out attacks. That is the problem. Yeah, that would be great. That would be nice to have. But if you're doing that means you haven't got the ball. When you're Manchester United against Aston Villa, you should be controlling the ball, have the ball. You can be in control of the game. So you don't necessarily need to have a defensive midfielder who's going to cut you in two, because we shouldn't be in that position to have to do that. Yeah, okay, against the bigger teams, somebody who's going to break up that play, somebody's going to read the game. It's a nice to have. It's a brilliant to have. We're not there yet. We need somebody in midfield who's going to control the game, who'll be confident to come and take it off fullbacks, off Dalot, off Tellez into midfield, into central midfield, off Alanga, allow Alanga to make a run, play him in if it's ready. If it's not ready, we're 1-0 up. Okay, Alanga, don't make that run. I'm going to keep this ball. Yeah, okay, it's a little negative, but we're 1-0 up. It's 35 minutes played. We're away from home. We're going to tighten up a little bit. We haven't got that player. Even Bruno, as good as he was yesterday, had frailties. He'd try silly passes, kicking the ball away. He did one in the second half. Tried to play a long pass out to the wide right, and he just dudded one into the midfield, and we were right under pressure. How many times has he done that this season? So, but that's not Bruno's game. You know, Bruno's not a deep sitting midfielder who's going to play Scholes-like passes. He's a midfielder who's going to be in behind the striker, attacking midfielder, playing sharp passes in either into the striker or scoring himself, going on beyond. He's a box to box. He's gonna get goals. He's gonna do what Lampard used to do and get beyond and score goals. So yeah, just frustrating, really, really frustrating. I was enjoying. Actually, tweeted. I saw people like Steehouse and on Twitter saying, what the hell's this, with a smiling emoji in the first 30 minutes. It was enjoyable, and for a United fan to say that this season has been. It's been rare to say, but it was enjoyable the first 30 minutes, and then it was straight back into what we were all been familiar with: doubtfulness, unsure, nervousness. We just look like it sort of almost looks now with the performances against Norwich, performances against Newcastle, the performance against Villa. Even the Palace game wasn't convincing for me. The one against Wolves the other week, it's coming across to me as if it's a situation where we look like a bottom mid-table team. We look like we're playing in a cup game, and we're in a league below, playing a Premier League team at times in games. It is concerningly embarrassing. Concerningly embarrassing. Listened to Roy Keane talk yesterday, and that man's give his views and takes on United as openly and as honestly as anybody's ever given the take on it on professional TV. Gary Neville's been very cagey and loyal, saying the things that he said, whether he means it or not. Doubt it half the time. But Roy Keane was backing the players and the manager up so much yesterday through gritted teeth, when you could tell that deep down he didn't believe it in his heart. That I don't think he can believe how shockingly bad we've dropped off a peg. Yeah, everyone expected that when Fergie left that there'd be a decline, but the level of decline is getting worse and worse and worse. It's spiked up a little bit, but it's got worse. It's got worse as other teams. We've allowed other teams to get better around us. That's the only reason it's getting worse. That's the only reason we've had a spike. The reason we've got slightly better across certain periods is because we've allowed other teams to get better. The other teams weren't as good at that period and then we've allowed Spurs to get Conte and get a little bit better. We've allowed West Ham to get better with David Moyes. We've allowed Brighton to carry on getting better. We've allowed Chelsea, who were at a similar level to United in terms of new players, the money that is spent, the squad depth, to get better by acquiring a top manager and taking it seriously and going on and winning things. Okay, no one expected to win the Champions League in the first moment that Tuchel walked through the door, but look what he's doing with them now. They've had a slump, yeah, but a slump's not 7th or 8th or 9th or whatever it is in the table. A slump's, okay, you're maybe 6 points behind the leaders. It's not your season. You might not win the Premier League, but you're third, you're second, you're fighting, you're contending. United are nowhere near it, and West Ham have got beat today, and United have been thrown another lifeline by going, okay, maybe top 4, still in touching distance. West Ham next week, win that game, still in touching distance. And a small part of you thinks, do we deserve to be top 4? Does that team at the end of it all, if we get a top 4 out of that, does that team deserve it? Well, points are points, and you do deserve it because you've got the points to be there. But the level of football is just it's embarrassing. It's woeful. But some shining lights in it yesterday for 30 minutes. We're going to touch on a couple of positives, not entirely negatives. So we'll jump on to talk a little bit about the ratings and. Like I say, just drop us a comment if you agree or if you disagree. Drop what you think, or just generally drop a comment. And if you want to drop a comment, and don't forget to, I'll do my PR stuff, like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. If you're liking what you're hearing, which is just me ranting at a camera for 20 odd minutes about stuff that we're all frustrated about. That's Man United, but so drop comment if you want to comment. It'd be nice, and then I'll comment back and we'll have a discussion. But we'll jump straight on to have a little look at this. I'll just get it up on the screen. Let's have a look. There we go. Right, okay. So I've not obviously put the playing numbers in there. I've put in the ratings. So yeah. So these are what I thought was the ratings from yesterday. I've been to be honest, I've been a little fair with Varane and Lindelof, especially Lindelof, who I thought was at fault for their second goal. And so first half, brilliant. Tellers, oops, my apologies. Tellers was brilliant down this left hand side. Fantastic. You know, he got down the left. Bruno was playing balls into him, allowing Langer to push on. Langer was confident to make those little channel runs, trying to get the balls. I think I get another ball here. So I've put 2 balls there for goals. Obviously yellow cards from yesterday. Tellers playing those balls down there. You know, sometimes Cavani would pull wide, just allowing, or Bruno would come in here and sort of pull a defender so Langer could run sort of between defenders. So that was really good to see. And Langer was so positive, so quick, so energetic, confident to receive the ball, not daunted by the fact that he's playing away in a United team. It's a first big Premier League start for him. Is it his first Premier League start? I don't know 100%, but very, very positive, and it was a joy to watch him in the first 30 minutes. But as he'll come to realise, it's a very lonely place when you play on the wing for Man United, because you're expected to do a heck of a lot of work, both creatively and defensively. So that becomes a huge burden, because the support you get is pretty diabolical, especially from this midfield. But first 30 minutes, really, really positive. Felt it was top notch from Malanga, especially. But I thought for first half, Tellers really got the man of the match. From the first half, for me, felt like he really was running the show, and I felt like if we were going to get a goal, it was definitely going to come from that side. It was definitely going to come in some way, shape, or form from Tellers doing his job very well. So that was more positive. And I think the only downside to that first 30 minutes was that we didn't get another goal. I think that was the only real downside, really. Overall, so I'll just go from back to front, really, I suppose. So De Gea, for me, a 7. Could have given him an 8. Thought he was brilliant. It wasn't a fault for the goals. Nothing much he could have done. Unbelievable saves, both in the first and second half. Mainly in the second, down to his right a couple of times. Made a good save, and he was just brilliant all round. I felt he was really solid and really good. And I gave him a 7. I thought he was top notch. So that's my sort of score for De Gea. Varane and Lindelof, I could have given Varane and Lindelof both 5s, or I think Lindelof even maybe a 4. I went fair. I thought 5 or 6, and I went with 6. I think generally just because of his first half performance, I thought he was a little more solid, and he dealt with everything that came his way. Varane the same, but then second half they were just woeful. They were all over the place. I think the ball across for Coutinho's goal, Varane could have done a little bit better. He could have closed that front post out and just blocked that cross. He didn't get anywhere near it, and the ball got across to Coutinho and he finished it. Lindelof, for that goal in particular, he got drawn across to try and intercept a ball. It got rolled easily, got beat for pace. Matic tried to cover in, got it done, and then Varane should have been across here to block that cross. He didn't, and that resulted in the goal. So Lindelof and Varane, for me, were a massive fault for that second goal. There's no way Lindelof should be pushing that man there. With pace, you run, you're sprinting to close the ball down, and you're asking for trouble, especially 40 yards out from goal. It's, if the guy's sort of maybe here on the edge of the box, you press it. But when he's stood here in midfield and you're pressing it like that, you're asking for trouble if you don't win that ball, because then you're leaving a huge gap there. And Matic just got ripped. was it Jacob, that young kid, just ran past him with ease, and then found the cross for the goal. So that's pretty poor. So Dalot got a 6 for me. It was neither good nor bad. I think with Dalot, it wasn't as good as it was on Monday. Thought he had a really good game on Monday night. Didn't sort of back it up for me, and I think Wan-Bissaka really could have done with a shout. I think we missed Wan-Bissaka in this game defensively. I think that's where we, going forward, we looked like we had a little bit. Defensively, we were pretty poor, so that was a bit of a downside. Into the midfield, if we actually do have a midfield, after yesterday, I'm not entirely sure whether we actually did or do have a midfield anymore. But Fred and Matic were just bloody woeful. I mean, even for as good as the 30 minutes was, Fred and Matic were dreadful. I know Fred got an assist technically for Bruno's goal. They won it over here. Fred got it in, and then the pass from Fred obviously picked out Bruno, but it was a simple little pass, nothing untoward. But generally, Fred is great when he's in these positions, winning it in here, and he's moving it forward to other players, but he's just so far off the pace. He just looks like he's chasing shadows at times. He's getting rammed past. People are breaking past him. He doesn't seem to have got the powerful burst that he should have to try and recover. He doesn't look physically strong enough to play that position. And when you compare it to someone like Kante, who's a similar sort of player and stature to him, he's just poles apart. If you're smaller and you're playing that position like a Makalele, you need to read the game. And you need to be technically a little better. There was a play down here where we won the ball. We won the ball in the first half, I think, and we sort of worked it out around with Tellez, and we worked it out really, really well. It's a couple of little passes, triangle passes. Coming to Fred here, Fred got the ball, and it bounced off him like a brick wall. It was just embarrassing. And then, moments before, I think it might have been the second half, you've got Tyrone Mings, who's a defender, bringing the ball out of the air, out of the sky, from a 60-yard loft field pass, and he's bringing the ball stone dead out of the sky like that. Incredible. And yet this guy who's playing in midfield for Manchester United can't take a short pass from Tellez from 15 yards without it bouncing 5 yards off him. He's woeful. He's woeful. You look at the best players in the world that played that position. Your Xavis, Scholesy, Pirlo, the list goes on. They had a good first touch, and not only did they have a good first touch, they were technically brilliant. They had good passing range. Strip all that back. If that's not okay, Fred's not the greatest passer in the world. Fred, we don't need you to be technically gifted. But you need to spot danger, Fred. So when you're getting that ball's coming towards you, have you identified who's around you? Have you identified that there's where the players are and where the players, where's the danger? So when the ball's coming to you, you're not getting the ball, then making a decision. It's under 10s, 9s, 8s stuff. It's not senior football in one of the biggest clubs in the world stuff. People used to say, I can't get anywhere near Scholesy. I can't get anywhere. He's gone. I can't get within a yard. I can't even touch him half the time when he's on the ball. Because he was so clever at knowing where you were to react to that situation, to get himself into space constantly. He wasn't waiting to get the ball and then reacting, because by that time it's too late in this league at this level. He's woeful. He's absolutely woeful. Woefully bad. Woefully bad. I mean, everyone's been going about, should we sign Sakara? Should we sign Sakara? Yes, we should. Because anything's, for 6, 7, 8 million, call it 10 million, it's not a gamble. It is not a gamble with that midfield that we've currently got. We're playing Fred and Matic. It wouldn't get into Brighton's team, wouldn't get into West Ham's team, wouldn't get into Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal, Man City. The list goes on. Fred and Matic would not get into, I would say, 90% of teams. The only team they would probably get into is at Newcastle, maybe not Norwich, Newcastle, Norwich, and maybe Burnley. Bar that, they wouldn't get into anybody else's team, but yet they're playing in Man United's team. And that's just fact. Whether anybody likes that situation or not, that is factual. Fred, Matic, and McTominay would not get in to any other team by the bottom three and Man United's team. And that's just facts. And it showed you how poor again yesterday it was, and how poor it was on Monday, and how poor it was against Wolves the weekend before. Poor, just poor, constantly poor. Not able to control a game, not able to dictate a game, not able to control tempo when we're 1-0 in front, or we're trying to chase a game. Right, we need to go. No, right, we need to control it. Just terrible all around. Both of them were woeful. Matic looked like he was chasing shadows. Matic looked like your dad coming to play with your mates down and just chasing shadows. He looked every day of his years. Matic, I don't know how old he is now, 33, 34, 35. He looked every day of those that age, every day of it. He's a lovely bloke, I'm sure, and a technic. He's won things with Chelsea, and I'm sure he's a lovely man, and he's a good footballer. He's past it. He's way past it. Way past it. And he showed yesterday. It looked like he was chasing kids, and he looked like he was. I mean, yesterday I think it almost retired him yesterday. He was woeful, and there was a couple of times where the ref looked at him like, "Look, pal, I could have sent you off here. I could have sent you off." He got an early yellow card, and he was riding his luck a few times, just making silly late challenges because he's way off the pace. You don't make challenges like when you're sticking your leg out for a standing tackle and you're fouling people, tripping people up. It's because you're nowhere near the ball. And it just showed he was way off it, way off it. Embarrassingly so. Bruno was good, very, very good in parts. Sometimes he does too much. He tries too hard, as we all know. He pushes it sometimes. He's trying to play long field passes. He's screaming at the referee. He's screaming at the linesman. He's getting into rolling around. He's complaining. He's arguing. He's scoring a goal. He's getting booked. It's such an up and down performance. I think overall I've got to give him an 8 because of the fact he scored 2 goals and we looked like we were going to win the game. But then he wore the armband and yet he didn't show, for me, a captain's performance again. That's another worry that we've got. That he's not a captain because a captain 2-0 up after getting that goal, we were behind, we were suffering, we weren't playing well. We get a goal out of nothing, out of their mistake. It's really Man United. When you watch it before, that's what the good teams do. They suffer, they weather the storm, and they get a goal, and it's demoralising for another team to go through that. And that should have been when the captain went, right guys, we tighten up. He has a word with it. Even have a word with Rangnick and say, Rangnick, we're struggling here in midfield. We're struggling. We need something to tighten up. We need an attacker off, and we need to tighten this midfield up, and we need to close this game out. I mean, it shouldn't take Bruno to do that, but he's a captain. He's wearing the armband, and let's be honest, he's not been one shy of being very vocal in that Man United team and wants the captaincy. So, in certain aspects of it, it shows his immaturity and his inexperience playing with a big club. Sometimes does Bruno. Shows his continentality in terms of his style of play. His constant complaining and whinging and moaning and arguing needs to stop. And it's distracting him from the bigger issues, which were trying to close out the game, getting a free kick or getting somebody sent off or getting somebody booked or whatever isn't going to help you win that game. And he was too distracted with those sort of elements rather than thinking, what do we need tactically as a team? What do we need to do as a team to get over this line and win this game 2-0? And let's be honest, Villa deserved it. Villa deserved to come back into that game. And regardless of that, we should have killed it off before they even got a chance to do that. Spoke a little bit about Alanga. Obviously, second half, I think he tailed off, started to flag a little bit. But I still give him a 7 for his first half performance. Greenwood was okay in patches, but he's just not playing the position he should be playing. He should be playing that central role with Cavani. I mean, he brought Cavani off, Greenwood off again. Easy substitution to make. It should be, Cavani was awful, and not because Cavani's a poor player. It's just not working with Cavani. He should have been playing Greenwood straight down the centre. Should have brought Cavani off and he should have put an extra midfielder on and tightened up the midfield. Put Van der Beek on, put Cavani off, put Van der Beek on, sat as deeper, played Fred, Van der Beek, and Matic. Obviously changed Elanga. He brought Sancho on, didn't he? And I don't think it's even worth talking about Sancho's inclusion because it was dreadful. And I'm not here to dig anybody out that much. I mean, he got 10 odd minutes or whatever it was. Maybe not even that, was it 5? Or so, I can't remember exactly. Let's have a look on my phone. How many Sancho got? What? Oh, lineups. Sancho came on 78th minute, so he got 12 minutes or whatever it was, plus a bit of stoppage time. Mason Green, Jesse Lingard came on with 89 minutes, and so did Van der Beek. It was too late. He should have brought Cavani off about 60 minutes, 65 minutes when we were flagging. When did we get the goal? So the goal went in. Bruno got the. So we'll look summary. Bruno got the goal at 67th minute. We were struggling up until that point. 70 minutes, he should have made a change. Villa got a goal then, 77th minute, so literally 10 minutes later. Should have made a change. Jacob Ramsey got the goal. It was brilliant, by the way. That young Jacob Ramsey, absolutely fantastic from beginning to end. And what a task Gerrard gave him, to get the full 90 minutes Premier League against Man United, and put every faith in him. And he scored, and he got an assist for Coutinho. So brilliant. I mean, Coutinho was fantastic when he came in on one, isn't he? I mean, the fact that their midfield is like Coutinho and Ben, this young Jacob Ramsey was fantastic, and Buendia and players like that, and we've got Fred and Matic. It's just embarrassing, really embarrassing, and you just want to bury your head in the sand as a Man United fan, because one of the reasons I didn't do a reaction straight away, because it's just demoralising. Why are we in this position? And I think I've seen a couple of YouTube videos and YouTube reactions about players who want to leave, and the reason nobody wants to buy them is because nobody bloody wants them. And I don't blame them, to be quite honest. It's, we don't want them either, do we? That's why we want them to go. So it's, a huge embarrassing shame, really, that our midfield is such a woeful thing to look at. I think finally just Cavani, I was just speaking about Cavani, wasn't I already? But yeah, his performance was dreadful. It's been dreadful for weeks, hasn't it? He was non-existent in the last 2 or 3 games that he's played, and he doesn't really seem to be providing much. I think he's in and out of injuries, really, which is holding him back. I think the pace of the Premier League really is catching up with him now. I don't think he's on song, really. He really just wants to be knocking in goals. This team is struggling for creativity. That's why Ronaldo and Cavani are not having as much joy as everyone thinks they should be having, because we're not dominating games with possession. We're not dominating games with chances. We're struggling to do that. Other teams are getting more possession and more chances against us. I mean, just in that game alone, Villa had 55% possession. Shots on target at 9 against United 6. United had a few more corners, albeit, I mean, Villa might as well just let United take a corner. But Bruno's corners were absolutely fucking woeful. It came up on Sky Sports. United have had 106 corners or something daft, 0 goals. And then Bruno had a corner as he was taking it and just hit the first man. Didn't even beat the first post. Fouls, yellow cards too. Crosses. Villa had 24 crosses to United's 13. So almost double the amount of crosses. Counter-attacks, United had 4 saves. United, De Gea had 7 to Martinez's 4. Goal kicks, 7 to Villa's 5. So just dreadful all round, really. Block shots, 2 to Villa's 1. Shots off target, 5 to Villa's 3. Shots on target, which is been the one that's been concerning over the last few weeks, hasn't it? Just dreadful. I mean, there's a point in that first 30 minutes where I felt like Ronaldo would have done a lot more than Cavani, but overall, Scholesy said it on a podcast recently, if you one of the best clubs in the world has got, mid to late 30s strikers, and as much as Ronaldo and Cavani are excellent players, we're getting them at the tail end of the career. They didn't want to be here when they were 20, 27, 28, 29. They didn't want to be here. They wanted to be at PSG, and they wanted to be at Real Madrid, and they wanted to be at the clubs that were going to pay them the money, and they wanted to win things. They didn't want to be at Man United, and now they want to be at Man United because Man United want them, and they're willing to don't get me wrong, they're trying their best, but they're not the players they once were. I'm not suggesting Ronaldo's not going to come back and hit it with a bang if we get on a bit of form, but Cavani's been woeful now for 3 or 4 weeks, and when he comes on as an impact, it's different. Yeah, when he comes on as an impact player, he's a different player, and that's what we need. 20 minutes, last 20 minutes, bring Cavani on. Great, 1-0 up, 2-0 up, bring Cavani on, give him some minutes, but the squad's so deep now that young players are so. I mean, we're getting rid of Martial. We've let the sourness of Martial creep in over that period of time, whilst giving Cavani minutes. The guy is 34, 35. Martial's in his prime, and we're letting a prime player go for a guy who's been around the block. It doesn't make any sense, but yeah, that's to where we are. So I'll just back out of that. If it'll let me. Will it let me? Don't think it'll let me. Okay. Oh, that's right. It won't let me. Try that again. There we go. Right. Okay. So, yeah. Nearly 40 minutes of drowning on about that anyway. So, yeah. United fixtures. I'll just might as well get them up on the screen, and we'll chat about them very quickly. But I just dread doing it because I don't know. It's just the way that we've been performing lately. I've just got no confidence that what sort of level of performance you're gonna get. Yeah, the sourness of relationships in this club and the squad and everything else just seems to be getting a little bit worse as well, doesn't it? So, yeah, I'm not sure really what to expect. I mean, I'll just get the fixtures up really, really quickly. Brentford next away, Wednesday. So, a few days now to recuperate and get back into that away from home. Normally you'd say it's a must-win game. God knows where we're at. God knows. Brentford will probably have another game of their life. United will probably have the worst performance ever. God knows. I can't even give a prediction. I mean, I'd say 1-0 United, just to be faithful, but I honestly don't know where we've been performing. West Ham seem to have a bit of a little slump. But it's West Ham. We're at home. Only sort of advantage, but that's screaming draw for me. Then we've got the FA Cup 4th round, which you'd like to think that we're going to, come through that. Burnley, you'd like to think we're going to beat Burnley. Burnley on a pretty bad run of form. Southampton, we usually do pretty well against Southampton, but again, you don't sort of have a guarantee. Then Leeds, and then it's like to think Leeds, Ellen Road. You never know. Leeds be up for it. Obviously, just beat West Ham. You just never know what you're going to get from Leeds, and we've obviously performed quite well against Leeds recently, but. It's Ellen Road, the atmosphere's going to be ridiculous, and where United have been performing, you just never know. So, tough one to call. And then finally, Atletico Madrid, end of the month. Watford capped the month off, actually, which again is another performance, another match you'd expect to win. But the Atletico Madrid game, obviously a big game. First leg of the knockout round, so, you like to think that it's a huge game, massive game. And I think any Champions League game is just a huge bonus if we keep in the Champions League. But I think you've got to expect that that's not going to go pretty well for United, unfortunately. So obviously things have changed quite a bit. I'm not sure where Atletico Madrid are at the minute. I'm not going to look just now, but yeah. So it's it's a must. Every game's a must win now. I mean, every game's for United is a must win. But I mean, genuinely looking at it from a practical point of view, Brentford, West Ham's obviously going to be tricky, but Brentford, Middlesbrough FA Cup, Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, and Brentford in February. You've got to be looking to win those games, and whether we will or not is a different story. So yeah, nothing much to add really, guys. I appreciate if you have been watching. If you have, subscribe, hit the like if you've liked what I've done, and comment. Other than that, I appreciate you watching if you've watched, and